First contact's price. The quantum anomaly detector aboard the deep-sea research vessel Nautilus hadn't stopped buzzing for the past 3 hours. Dr. Sarah Chen stared at the readouts, her dark eyes reflecting the blue glow of multiple screens. The numbers made no sense. They hadn't detected any quantum signatures this powerful since they started scanning the Mariana Trench 6 months ago. Dr. Chen. Captain Rodriguez's voice crackled over the intercom. We're holding position at 10,000 meters. Whatever your team is picking up, it's directly below us. Sarah pressed the comm button. Understood, Captain. Request permission to deploy the deep dive probe. There was a pause before Rodriguez responded. Granted. But Sarah, be careful. Those energy readings are off the charts. The deep dive probe, a sleek autonomous vehicle designed specifically for extreme depths, slipped into the darkness beneath the Nautilus. Sarah and her team watched through multiple camera feeds as it descended further into the abyss. The quantum readings grew stronger. At 10,900 meters, the probe's lights illuminated something that shouldn't exist at this depth, a perfectly smooth, metallic surface. My God, whispered Dr. James Morrison, Sarah's colleague. That's not natural formation. The object was massive, at least 30 meters across, and partially buried in the sediment. Its surface bore intricate patterns that pulsed with a faint blue light. As the probe got closer, the patterns began to shift and change. It's responding to our presence, Sarah realized. She quickly typed commands into the probe's interface, initiating a full spectrum analysis. The results came back within minutes. The object was composed of elements that didn't exist on the periodic table. Its surface temperature was exactly 273.15 Kelvin, the freezing point of water, despite the near-freezing temperatures of the surrounding water. But most importantly, it was broadcasting. The signal was unlike anything ever recorded on Earth. It bypassed traditional electromagnetic spectrum entirely, operating on quantum principles that Sarah's team had only theorized about. Within hours, similar signals were detected coming from deep space. They had activated something. Something that had been waiting. The first ships appeared 3 days later, massive vessels that simply materialized in high Earth orbit, ignoring all known laws of physics. The hegemony, as they called themselves, wasted no time with pleasantries. Humanity, their first transmission began, broadcast simultaneously to every electronic device on Earth. You have activated the beacon. As per Protocol 7249A of the Galactic Hegemony, your species is now eligible for advancement. In the UN Security Council chamber, world leaders gathered to watch the continued transmission. The alien speaker, a tall, ethereal being with iridescent skin, continued, however, advancement comes with conditions. Your species has demonstrated dangerous tendencies toward independent development. This must be corrected. President Helena Martinez of the United States exchanged glances with other world leaders. They all recognized the tone. It was the voice of colonizers throughout human history, speaking of civilization and advancement while demanding submission. The hegemony's terms were simple: Earth would receive access to advanced technology, medical breakthroughs, and faster-than-light travel. In exchange, humanity would submit to hegemony oversight. All technological development would require approval. Military forces would be limited. Space exploration would be restricted. They're afraid, Dr. Chen explained to the Emergency Scientific Council. The beacon was a test. It required a specific level of quantum understanding to detect and interact with. We passed that test centuries before they expected us to. The hegemony had given Earth 48 hours to accept their terms. Instead, humanity began preparing for something else entirely. Deep beneath the Mariana Trench, the beacon continued its quiet pulse. Sarah and her team worked around the clock, studying every aspect of the alien artifact. They discovered that its quantum architecture wasn't just advanced, it was elegant in a way that suggested it could be improved upon. Look at this, Sarah pointed to a holographic model of the beacon's internal structure. They're using quantum entanglement for communication, but their method is inefficient. It's like they found one way to do it centuries ago and never bothered to innovate further. Similar discoveries were being made in laboratories around the world. The hegemony's technology, while advanced, showed signs of stagnation. They hadn't faced real competition or challenges in so long that they had stopped pushing boundaries. Humanity, on the other hand, had never stopped innovating. As the deadline approached, the UN Security Council convened one final time. The vote was unanimous. Earth's response to the hegemony was brief: we reject your terms. We are willing to negotiate as equals, but we will not submit to control. The hegemony's response was immediate. Their ships began moving into aggressive positions. Trade routes to nearby star systems were blocked. Earth was to be isolated until it learned compliance. But in the depths of the Mariana Trench, Sarah Chen made a breakthrough. The beacon wasn't just a communication device, it was a key to understanding the fundamental forces of the universe in ways the hegemony had never imagined. They've been using quantum mechanics like a hammer, she explained to the world's leading physicists. We're going to use it like a scalpel. The hegemony had intended to force humanity into submission. Instead, they had given Earth exactly what it needed, a challenge. And humanity had never backed down from a challenge. The game was about to change, and the hegemony had no idea what they had awakened. Silent defiance. The hegemony's economic blockade of Earth entered its third month with a display of force that would have intimidated any other species. A ring of their crystalline ships encircled the planet, their hulls refracting sunlight in dazzling patterns. It was meant to be beautiful and terrifying, a reminder of what humanity was rejecting. Admiral Kira Patel stood at the window of the International Space Station, watching another hegemony patrol pass by. They made no effort to hide their movements, confident in their technological superiority. That arrogance had become humanity's greatest advantage. Status report, she commanded, turning back to the holographic display where her global command staff waited. Project Prometheus is ahead of schedule, reported General Zhang from the Kunlun Mountain facility. The quantum core modifications Dr. Chen suggested have exceeded all expectations. Power output is 300% higher than hegemony standards. Similar reports came in from facilities around the world. In the Australian outback, European engineers had perfected a new form of gravity manipulation. Deep beneath the Sahara, African scientists had cracked the code of faster-than-light travel, not by copying hegemony designs, but by reimagining the fundamental principles. The hegemony had expected humanity to break under isolation. Instead, Earth had turned inward, pooling its resources and talents. Old rivalries faded as humanity faced its first true external threat. Chinese quantum computers worked in parallel with American AI systems, Russian aerospace innovations merged with Indian biotechnology. Dr. Chen's breakthrough with the Mariana beacon had opened new doors. The hegemony thinks technology flows in one direction, she explained during a global briefing. They find something that works, they perfect it, and then they stop. They don't innovate because they've never needed to. The beacon's quantum architecture had revealed the hegemony's technological foundation, and its limitations. They had mastered quantum entanglement for communication but used brute force approaches that required massive energy expenditure. Their FTL drives bent space in crude, inefficient ways. Their gravity manipulation was elementary compared to what humanity was already achieving. In a hidden facility beneath Antarctica, the first human quantum ship took shape. Unlike the crystalline constructs of the hegemony, it was sleek, dark, and virtually undetectable. Its hull incorporated metamaterials that absorbed or redirected scanning beams. Its quantum core used principles the hegemony had never considered. "They're scanning the planet again," reported Dr. James Morrison, now heading the Quantum Camouflage Division. "Looking for signs of technological development." "Let them look," Admiral Patel replied. They won't find anything until we want them to. The hegemony's frustration became evident in their increasingly aggressive, diplomatic, broadcasts. They couldn't understand why their tactics weren't working. Their surveillance showed a planet seemingly regressing, fewer satellites, reduced electronic emissions, diminished industrial activity. What they couldn't see was the revolution happening beneath the surface. Literal underground cities had sprung up, connected by vacuum tubes that used gravity manipulation for near-instantaneous transport. New forms of quantum computing made Earth's old internet seem primitive by comparison. The Australian Desert Facility reported its first successful test of the Ghost Drive, an FTL system that slipped through the quantum foam of space without creating the typical subspace distortions the hegemony relied on for detection. In orbit, microsatellites no larger than smartphones maintained Earth's new quantum communication network, invisible to hegemony scans. 6 months into the blockade, humanity made another discovery. The hegemony's communication protocols, meant to be unbreakable, had a fundamental flaw. They relied on perfect quantum entanglement, but Dr. Chen's team had found a way to introduce subtle irregularities that let them listen in on alien transmissions. What they heard changed everything. "They're scared," Dr. Chen announced to the Emergency Council. "Not just of us, but of what we represent. The hegemony's control relies on technological superiority, but we've proved that their approach to science itself is flawed. We're not just catching up to them, we're surpassing them in ways they can't comprehend." Intercepted communications revealed growing unrest in the hegemony's empire. Other species were watching Earth's defiance with great interest. Some had already begun reaching out through covert quantum channels, seeking information about humanity's innovations. The hegemony responded by tightening the blockade. More ships arrived daily, their crystalline forms filling Earth's orbit like an artificial constellation. They expected to find a weakened, isolated planet ready to submit. They had no idea they were watching humanity's chrysalis, not its cage. In the depths of the Mariana Trench, the ancient beacon continued its pulse, but now it felt less like a test and more like a witness. Humanity had not only passed its trial, it had transcended it. Admiral Patel reviewed the latest readiness reports. Quantum ships were ready for deployment in hidden bases around the world. New weapons systems had been developed that could pierce hegemony shields by targeting the quantum fluctuations their technology relied on. A network of ghost satellites carried humanity's first interstellar quantum communication array. "The hegemony gave us 3 choices," she told her global command staff. "Submit, isolate, or be destroyed." They never considered the 4th option. "And what's that?" asked General Zhang. Admiral Patel's smile was fierce. "Evolution. Humanity doesn't adapt to limits, we transcend them. And it's time to show the galaxy exactly what that means." The pieces were in place. The chrysalis was ready to break. And the hegemony was about to learn why humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to turn obstacles into opportunities. The Perseus Protocol. The hegemony's first warning came in the form of silence. Their quantum sensors, monitoring Earth's atmosphere for any sign of technological advancement, suddenly went dark. At first, they assumed their equipment had malfunctioned. After all, no species possessed the ability to disrupt hegemony quantum technology. High Admiral V. Lara of the Hegemony Enforcement Fleet felt an unfamiliar sensation as reports flooded in, uncertainty. "Impossible," she declared, her iridescent scales shifting colors with agitation. "Check the backup systems." But the backup systems told the same story. Earth had vanished from their quantum scans, as if someone had drawn a veil across their sensors. The planet was still visible to conventional optics, appearing peaceful and primitive, but the hegemony's advanced detection systems couldn't penetrate whatever shield now surrounded it. They discovered why exactly 3 hours later. The first human quantum ship emerged from what appeared to be empty space directly beside the hegemony's flagship. Unlike the crystalline aesthetics of hegemony vessels, the Earth ship was midnight black, its hull seeming to absorb both light and sensor scans. It was smaller than the flagship but radiated power in a way that made V'Ilara's command staff step back from their stations. "This is Admiral Kira Patel of the Earth Defense Force," came the transmission. "We are implementing Perseus Protocol. Your blockade of Earth ends now." Before V'Ilara could respond, quantum signatures began appearing throughout the solar system. Dozens, then hundreds of Earth ships emerged from their ghost space camouflage. They had been there all along, waiting. "Impossible," V'Ilara whispered again, but with less conviction. The tactical display showed human vessels taking up precise positions throughout the solar system. Their movements defied known laws of physics, they didn't so much fly as slide through space itself. In the Kunlun Mountain facility, Dr. Chen monitored the quantum network as it came fully online. The hegemony's supposedly unbreakable encryption was being unraveled in real time, their communications laid bare to human quantum computers. "They're trying to call for reinforcements," she reported to Admiral Patel. "But our quantum interference is blocking their signals. They're alone." The Perseus Protocol had been months in the making. While the hegemony watched Earth's surface for signs of resistance, humanity had been building a fleet unlike anything the galaxy had seen. Ships that could fold space in ways the hegemony had never imagined. Weapons that targeted the quantum foundation of alien technology, turning their own energy signatures against them. "You have 1 hour to withdraw your forces," Admiral Patel announced to the hegemony fleet. "We have no desire for conflict, but we will not allow our species to be imprisoned in its own solar system." V'Ilara's response was predictable, a full attack order. Hegemony ships launched their quantum weaponry, expecting to overwhelm Earth's defenses with superior firepower. Instead, they watched in horror as their weapons passed harmlessly through human vessels. The quantum interference field developed by Dr. Chen's team didn't just block attacks, it redirected their energy, feeding it back into Earth's defensive systems. They never considered that quantum mechanics could work this way, Dr. Chen explained to the Emergency Council as they watched the confrontation unfold. "They found one application of the technology and stopped looking for others. We took their foundation and built something entirely new." The demonstration of force was brief but decisive. When a hegemony cruiser tried to power up its main weapon array, the human ships didn't attack, they simply redirected the quantum energy flow, causing the cruiser's systems to go dark. One by one, hegemony vessels found themselves powerless, their supposedly perfect technology turned against them by innovations they couldn't comprehend. Not a single shot was fired by the Earth fleet. "This is your final warning," Admiral Patel transmitted. "The next demonstration will not be so gentle." In the hegemony flagship, V'Ilara faced a choice no hegemony commander had confronted in 10,000 years, surrender or be humbled by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The retreat, when it came, was chaotic. Hegemony ships fled using their conventional drives, their quantum systems still scrambled by human interference. They left behind a solar system firmly under human control. But the Perseus Protocol wasn't just about defending Earth. As the hegemony fleet retreated, human quantum communications reached out across the galaxy. The message was simple but powerful: the cage can be broken. Admiral Patel received the first responses within hours. Other species, long suppressed by hegemony technology, wanted to know how Earth had done the impossible. Some offered alliances. Others begged for help in breaking free from hegemony control. "We knew this would happen," Dr. Chen told the Emergency Council. The hegemony's power wasn't based on superior biology or intelligence. It was built on technological stagnation. They prevented other species from developing by convincing them there was only one way forward. Humanity had proved there were infinite ways forward. The Perseus Protocol had done more than defend Earth, it had shattered the foundation of the hegemony's power. In the Mariana Trench, the ancient beacon's pulse changed rhythm for the first time in millennia. Whether it was acknowledging humanity's achievement or signaling something new, no one could say. But one thing was certain: the galaxy would never be the same. The species that the hegemony had tried to cage had instead broken the cage itself, and the implications were spreading across the stars at quantum speed. The real revolution was just beginning. Broken chains. The hegemony's grip on the galaxy began unraveling faster than anyone had anticipated. Within weeks of the Perseus Protocol demonstration, rebellions erupted across a dozen star systems. Species that had been subjugated for millennia found their courage in humanity's example. The Chthari, silicon-based beings from a heavy-gravity world, were the first to successfully replicate Earth's quantum interference technology. Their crystalline bodies, once considered a primitive limitation by the hegemony, proved perfect for manipulating quantum fields in ways even humans hadn't discovered. "They don't just want our technology," Admiral Patel reported to the Emergency Council. "They want to learn how we think." The hegemony didn't just suppress their technological development, they suppressed their creativity, their drive to innovate. Dr. Chen's quantum communication network had become the backbone of an interstellar revolution. Earth ships, moving through ghost space, delivered quantum cores to resistance movements throughout the galaxy. But more importantly, they delivered hope. The Volari, a species of gas giant dwellers whom the hegemony had dismissed as barely sentient, revealed they had been secretly developing organic quantum computers for centuries. With human assistance, their biological technology merged with Earth's innovations, creating hybrid systems that surpassed anything either species could have developed alone. "This is what the hegemony feared most," Dr. Morrison explained while studying Volari bioquantum interfaces. "Not just technological advancement, but collaboration. Different species working together, combining their unique perspectives and abilities." The hegemony's response was swift and desperate. They launched attacks on rebellious systems, expecting to crush the uprisings quickly. Instead, they found their weapons useless against quantum shields based on human designs. Their ships, once the terror of the galaxy, were outmaneuvered by vessels using hybrid technologies. In the Centauri sector, the aquatic meridian species combined their natural ability to process multiple information streams with human quantum computing principles. The resulting battle network let them coordinate fleet movements with unprecedented precision, turning a hegemony assault force away without firing a shot. But not all victories were technological. On the desert world of Carrick, the insectoid NX-Theory demonstrated why suppressing creativity for so long had been a mistake. They didn't just copy human quantum technology, they reimagined it, developing solar-powered quantum fields that turned their entire planet into a fortress. "Each species we free brings new ideas, new perspectives," Admiral Patel told her expanded command staff, now including representatives from a dozen alien races. The hegemony's greatest error wasn't underestimating humanity, it was underestimating the potential of every species they suppressed. The hegemony's empire had been built on technological superiority and fear. As both crumbled, their subject worlds began questioning centuries of propaganda. Archaeological discoveries on multiple planets revealed evidence of advanced civilizations that had been systematically erased from history. Dr. Chen's team, working with Chthari scientists, made a stunning discovery about the quantum beacons like the one found in the Mariana Trench. They weren't just tests, they were warnings, left by an ancient species that had foreseen the hegemony's rise. The beacons were meant to activate when a species reached the right level of quantum understanding, she explained. Not just technological understanding, but the creativity to use it in new ways. "We weren't the first to find one, we were just the first to survive the hegemony's response." The revelation sparked a new wave of rebellion. Worlds that had been hesitant to join the resistance now threw off their chains. The hegemony's carefully maintained image of invincibility shattered as system after system declared independence. But the most profound changes were cultural. Species that had been isolated from each other for millennia began sharing not just technology, but art, music, philosophy, and dreams. The quantum network carried more than military communications, it carried the collective hopes of a galaxy awakening from a long nightmare. In orbit around Earth, a new structure took shape. The Unity Station, built through the combined efforts of 20 different species, served as both a symbol and a promise. Its quantum core, a hybrid of human, Chthari, and Volari technology, pulsed with enough power to be seen across the galaxy. The hegemony thought they could control evolution itself. Admiral Patel addressed the first gathering of the Liberation Council. They forgot that evolution isn't just about survival, it's about adaptation, innovation, and cooperation. The ancient beacon in the Mariana Trench had fallen silent, its warning no longer necessary. In its place, a new network of quantum signals spread across the stars, not warnings, but invitations. Invitations to join a galaxy where diversity wasn't just tolerated, but celebrated. The chains were broken. But more importantly, the species of the galaxy were learning to forge new bonds, not of subjugation, but of mutual respect and shared discovery. And somewhere in the darkness between the stars, the hegemony watched as their perfect order crumbled before the forces they had tried so hard to suppress: creativity, courage, and cooperation. New Dawn Coalition. The final confrontation with the hegemony began not with a battle, but with an invitation. As their empire crumbled, the hegemony's ruling council received a quantum transmission from the Unity Station. It was an offer to attend a galactic congress of free species. Let them see what they tried to prevent, Admiral Patel had argued in the Liberation Council. Let them witness the future they feared. The hegemony leaders arrived in their last remaining flagship, its crystalline form dulled by the strain of recent defeats. They found themselves in a galaxy they barely recognized. Where they had enforced uniformity, diversity now flourished. Where they had demanded submission, cooperation thrived. The Unity Station's Grand Chamber held representatives from over 50 species. Some floated in environmental bubbles, others projected holographic avatars, while many appeared in person. Dr. Chen, now leading the Combined Sciences Division, watched the hegemony delegates' reaction as they entered. Look at their biosignatures, she whispered to Admiral Patel. They're terrified, not of weapons, but of change. The hegemony's high speaker, a being of shifting mercury-like form, addressed the assembly. You cannot understand the chaos you've unleashed, they declared. Our order preserved peace for 10,000 years. Peace through suppression is not peace at all, responded Chthar Prime, their crystalline form resonating with conviction. It is merely delayed conflict. The evidence was undeniable. In just 1 year of freedom, the combined species had made more technological and social progress than the previous millennium under hegemony rule. The Volari's organic quantum computers had revolutionized space travel. The Meridian's multi-stream processing had transformed communication. The NX Theory's solar quantum fields had solved energy crises on a dozen worlds. But the greatest achievements weren't technological. New forms of art, music, and literature flourished as species shared their perspectives. The quantum network carried not just data, but dreams, connecting minds and hearts across the galaxy. We are here to offer you a choice, Admiral Patel addressed the hegemony delegation. Not submission, as you once demanded from us, but participation. Join us not as rulers, but as equals. The hegemony's response was predictable. They attempted to trigger quantum weapons hidden within their delegates' bodies. But the Unity Station's hybrid defensive systems had already neutralized the threats. The weapons were transformed into harmless light shows, their energy redirected to power the station's environmental systems. Even now, you respond with violence, observed a Volari consciousness cloud. Yet you call us chaotic. The turning point came from an unexpected source. Junior members of the hegemony delegation, younger and less indoctrinated, stepped forward. We have seen enough, their spokesperson declared. The old ways have failed. We choose evolution. The schism within the hegemony was the final crack in their foundation. As their younger generation embraced change, the old guard found themselves facing obsolescence. Their choice was simple: adapt or fade away. In the months that followed, the galaxy underwent its final transformation. The New Dawn Coalition emerged as a voluntary association of free species, each contributing their unique strengths to a greater whole. The former hegemony worlds, guided by their reformed younger generation, began their own journey of rediscovery. The Coalition's founding principles, drafted in the Unity Station, were simple but powerful. All species have the right to develop according to their own path. Diversity is strength. Innovation comes from cooperation, not competition. Knowledge belongs to all. Power must serve, not rule. Dr. Chen stood at the station's quantum observatory, watching ships of different species moving through the combined quantum normal space lanes. Each vessel represented a different approach to the same challenges, a different solution born of unique perspective. "We never wanted to rule the galaxy," she told Admiral Patel. "We just wanted to prove there was another way." The ancient beacons, their warning message no longer needed, were reprogrammed. Now they broadcast the coordinates of the Unity Station and the principles of the Coalition. They became welcome signs for any species reaching for the stars, offering not tests but invitations. Humanity's role had evolved too. Earth became known not as conquerors or liberators, but as catalysts, the species that proved change was possible. Human quantum ships still patrolled the stars, but their mission now was to protect and connect, not to dominate. In the Mariana Trench, where Earth's journey to the stars had begun, a new beacon pulsed with a different message: "Welcome to tomorrow." The galaxy had learned its greatest lesson, that true strength comes not from enforcing order, but from embracing chaos, creativity, and change. The New Dawn Coalition stood as living proof that the best future is one built together, with each voice heard and every perspective valued. And somewhere in the vast darkness between the stars, other species were beginning their own journeys upward. When they reached for the stars, they would find not chains, but hands of all forms reached out to welcome them to a galaxy of infinite possibilities. The dawn had broken, and its light would never fade.